Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to our next chapter, that is exemptions. So for exemption, this is a color coded chapter. Please, if you have these notes, I hope you have taken a colored printout of these, or otherwise you have ordered colored copies. So exemptions, anything in green, everything in this chapter that I've written in green will be exempt, and anything in red will be taxable. So that is how it is easier for you to remember. Okay, so first we'll start with charitable and religious activities. So for charitable and religious activities, any service provided by an entity registered under section 12 or 12 remember you study this in income tax under the trust chapter. I have put a chapter for trust also under DT. So these entities, services provided by entity under 12 or 12 any service that these entities provide will be exempt from GST. Any conduct of religious activities is exempt. Renting of precincts of religious places owned by charitable or religious trust. That is, if the precincts, if we have rented any place of theirs, it will be which is owned by your charitable or religious trust, that will be exempt. Now, what you have to see is renting of rooms will not be exempt if the rent of room is 1000 or more per day. Okay, so your rooms will be exempt if your tariff is up to 999. Got it? So up to 999 it is exempt. The moment it touches 1000, it becomes taxable. Okay, so it will not be exempt. That is basically it will be taxable if it is 1000 or more per day. Your premises, halls or open area will be taxable if 10,000 or more per day, and your shops will be taxable. That is your rent that you collect from shops, these will be taxable if the rent is 10,000 or more per month. That is, you have to remember these both are day, and this one is per month. So your rooms is 1000 per day. All of these amounts that I'm saying, this is including that amount, it will become taxable. That is 1000 will become taxable. For your premises, halls, open areas, that 10,000 will become taxable, and for your shops also 10,000 will become taxable. 10,000 and more will become taxable. So 1000, 10,000, 10,000. Okay. Hajj committee and your KMBN providing service with respect to Kailash Mansarovar and Hajj pilgrimage, these are exempt. So you have to remember only if these two people are providing the service, only and only if these two people are the ones who are providing the service will it be exempt. Otherwise, any other person providing these services will become taxable. Clear? So they will give you a tricky question where they have specified some third person's name. Only and only if it is Hajj committee or your KMBN, this is your Kailash Mansarovar something something. So only if both of these will are providing the service will it become exempt. And we are done with your religious, charitable and religious activities. Okay. Now coming to healthcare. For healthcare, ambulance services are exempt. Ambulance services are exempt. But they've added this in the amended for now, that is hospital room charges. So usually, ideally, all healthcare services were exempt. So however, in hospital room charges, if your room charges is more than 5,000 per day, what you have to remember, it is more than 5,000 per day. In such a case, this will become taxable. That is, up to 5,000 is okay, but the moment you go above 5,000, the government says that, boss, this is a luxury room. The amount, since you are paying so much amount of money, it is not just your healthcare, but it is a luxury item for now. So it comes with a lot of facility. There will be proper AC, there will be nice TV, there will be space for the person who's accompanying you to sleep. It'll be a very fancy room. So in such a case, this room will be taxable and GST amount will be applied. However, this does not include ICU rooms, because ICU rooms are usually costly because of the high equipment and more care that is required. So this 5,000 condition is not applicable for ICU rooms. Okay. Vet clinic services are exempt. Food supplied to patient. Remember, it is only to patient. Only and only the food supplied to a patient will be exempt. Any food supplied to family members of patient will be taxable. Okay. So any food supplied to patient only, that is exempt. Next is your diagnosis, treatment, care for illness, injury, pregnant. All of these are exempt. Any diagnosis, treatment, care for illness, injury, or pregnancy related expenses, these are all exempt. Food supplied to doctor or non-admitted patients, this is taxable. Therefore, this is in red. any hair transplant or cosmetic surgery, since these are considered not as health, but these are called as beauty enhancement. Oh, I scroll through. Hmm. So since these are treated as beauty enhancement, your hair transplant and cosmetic surgery, therefore these will become taxable. However, there is an exception that except when it is undertaken to restore due to abnormality, injury, or any trauma. Only and only in such cases will this service become exempt. Because if it was because of an accident or any abnormality that you want to get it corrected, then it will be exempt. Otherwise, it is taxable. It also includes IVF procedure. IVF procedure is when the uh, the entire pregnancy process when it is done through a lab. So any IVF procedure is exempt from GST. Okay. For your legal services of arbitral tribunal or advocate, it will be exempt if it is provided to a business which is not liable to register. In such a case, these services will be exempt. Okay. Now coming to your next part, that is your agriculture sector. Your agriculture sector, there have been some changes over here. So for agriculture sector, cultivation, harvesting, threshing, plant protection, etc. All of these are exempt. Supply of farm labor is exempt. Process carried out which do not alter the essential characteristics of agriculture produce. Now, for example, they will give you a question of processing of, that is milling of paddy into rice. Now, since this changes the essential characteristics, it does not leave the final product as an agriculture produce because there is a lot of processing. So, in such a case, this will be taxable. But if any process does not change the essential characteristic, that will considered as exempt. Any renting or leasing of any agriculture machinery or any agro machinery, that will be exempt. Loading, unloading, storage, and warehousing of agriculture produce, these are exempt. Now for May 23, they have given you an amendment that except cotton, nuts, jaggery, flax, jute, tobacco, coffee, tea, that is loading, unloading, storage, and warehousing of all agriculture produce is exempt. However, if the agriculture produce are these items, then it will become taxable. So that is their loading, their unloading, their storage, their warehousing of these items in red, it will become taxable. That is, it is GST will be applied on them. There is no exemption. Now next is your fumigation service. Fumigation service in warehouse is taxable. This is an amendment from now, that is fumigation service in warehouse is taxable, but fumigation service in agriculture farm is exempt. So that's what you have to remember. Do not just remember amendment that fumigation service is taxable. What you have to remember that fumigation service in warehouse is taxable, but fumigation service in agricultural farm will be exempt. Rearing of all forms of animals is exempt, but if those are horses, it is not exempt, it will be taxable. Services by way of preconditioning, pre-cooling, ripening, waxing, labeling of fruits and vegetables are all exempt. Okay, so this is your agriculture part. Now let's come to the transportation of goods. So for transportation of goods, if you remember earlier, it used to be GTA per consignment 750 or per carriage it was 1500. All of those exemptions have been withdrawn. That is, for example, now transportation of goods by GTA will be taxable and by others. That is, if it is by road, if it is by others, then it will be exempt. Clear? So by GTA, it is now taxable. Those limits with respect to 750 and 1500, they have been removed. So if you have not watched any amendment video, please keep this in mind. So with GTA, basically there are two amendments. This exemption has been withdrawn, and the above RCM that we had already studied in the last chapter, that is a amendment. So if you not watched the video, I have explained GTA in detail in that video. Please do watch. Okay. Now any inland waterways, that is use of any ferry within the country of India, that is exempt. Any transportation by railways of goods. Remember what we are doing is we are doing transportation of goods. So by railways will be taxable, by pipelines will be taxable. Now what is the other point that you have to remember? If there is any transportation of goods outside India to custom station in India, that is from outside India, it is coming to India where it is coming to a custom station in India. If this transportation is by air, only then it is exempt. Otherwise, it will be taxable. That is, if it is by vessel. Any custom station in India to outside India, that is from India, it is going outside India. In such a case, it will be taxable. Clear? Got it. In both ways. So for over here, only if it is done by air will it be exempt. Services by way of granting national permit to goods carriage to operate throughout India, that is exempt. Following goods transported through GTA, rail or vessel are exempt. What you have to remember that air is not specified over here. That is your GTA, your rail, that is your railways, or your vessel, that is your ship. Only in these cases, only if transportation is done by these three will it be exempt. Otherwise, it will be taxable. So you have to remember anything transported via air will be taxable for these cases. So AP is your agriculture produce. Any milk, salt, food grains, flour, pulse, rice, all of these will be exempt. Organic manure, newspaper, magazine, any relief material to victims and any defense equipment, all of these items will be exempt if it is transported. If it is transported by your GTA, by your rail, or by vessel, only and only if transported by these three will it become exempt. Okay. Now coming to your a little tricky part, but I've added images so that it is easier to understand. That is your passenger transport. So what now we had done, we did transportation of goods. Now it is transportation of people. It is transportation of passengers. So if the transportation is being done by bus and the bus is a AC bus, then in such a case it will become taxable since this is in red. However, if it is a non-AC bus, if it is a non-AC bus, but it is for tourism purpose, if it is a non-AC bus for tourism purpose, it will again become taxable. But if it is a non-AC bus and only does point-to-point transport, for example, in Mumbai, we have best buses. So best buses just drop you from one point to another. But if it is AC, there will be GST also. However, if they are non-AC buses, in such a case, they are only for point-to-point transport. That will be exempt from GST. There is no GST applicable. Okay, your meter cab, that will be exempt from GST. Okay, so that is your Kali Pili, which what you call these taxi that you do, that is on meter cab. They have a running meter going on. These will be exempt. Your auto rickshaws are also exempt. Any motor cabs or radio taxi, whether AC or non-AC, does not matter. That means if you are booking through Ola or something, now this will become taxable. That is your motor cabs or radio taxi, whether AC or non-AC, these will be taxable. There is no concept of exemption. For your railway, that is your train, any first class or AC coach, that will be taxable and all others are exempt. Your first class or your AC coach, those will be taxable because these are your high standard quality traveling. Inland waterways, if you remember, over here was also exempt. Inland waterways over here is also exempt. That means inland waterways, transportation of people or goods inland within India will be exempted in both the cases. Great. So I hope this is clear with images. I'm sure it becomes easy to learn. Your metro monorail, they are exempt from GST. GST will not be leviable on your metro travel or your monorail travel. However, if you're traveling on vessel, if there is transportation of people through vessel, and again, if it is used for tourism purpose, if it is used for tourism purpose, it will be taxable. That is, for example, any of your cruises or anything used for tourism purpose, that will be taxable. For all other purpose, it will be exempt. Okay. Now your if the transportation is via air, that is via an aeroplane. If the journey embarks or terminates, that is either the journey starts or ends in either of one of these states, it will become exempt. Either start or end either of them, it will be exempt. For all other states, it is taxable. So, embarks or terminates in states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, and West Bengal. So, that is all your sister states in the east plus West Bengal. So, only and only if your journey either starts or ends in these states will it be exempt. For all other purpose, it will be taxable. And what you have to remember that this will be exempt only and only if it is by economy class. That is your first class or your business class will become taxable even if your journey starts from any of these points. So these states will become exempt only and only if first of all either starts or end in this place and it has to be in economy class. Okay, so if your business or first class, it will not be exempt. GST will be leviable. Now, these items that we have studied, they will become taxable if it is supplied through an electronic commerce operator. So, anything that we studied above, that was exempt. If that is supplied through an eco, they will automatically become taxable and they will be liable to GST. Okay. Now, coming to our last part of the chapter, that is your last page. So, renting of immovable property, renting of residential dwelling. Renting of residential dwelling is exempt. Renting of residential dwelling, that is for purpose to stay, is exempt. However, if it is if it is rented by a registered person, then it will be taxable. Clear? So renting of residential dwelling is exempt, but if it is done by a registered person, it will become taxable. So basically, if your recipient is registered, if your recipient is registered and it is done either for commercial use or residence for employee or director, either cases, but your recipient is registered, it will come under RCM. Clear? However, if recipient is not registered and it is for commercial purpose, then it will be forward charge mechanism. Forward charge mechanism means the person who is supplying the service, he himself will be the person paying tax. Under reverse charge mechanism, the person who is receiving the service, that is the recipient. Since over here the recipient was registered, he will be paying tax under RCM. Okay, and if the recipient is not registered and it is used for residence of employee or director, this will become exempt. So I hope this table has made it clear. Your next part is your banking and financial sector. So any interest on deposit, loans or advances, that is exempt. There will be no GST on that portion. However, interest on credit card service, that amount, that interest on credit card services will be taxable, and this will be liable to GST. Services by way of acquiring bank to any person in relation to settlement of any amount up to 2000 in a single transaction, that is exempt. So what you have to remember, it is up to 2000. That means if it was above 2000, then it will become taxable. Now your next part is your entertainment, museum, etc. So classical, folk artist of music, dance, theater. Remember these three. It is only music, dance, and theater. So if, for example, do not remember only art, you have to remember these three. That is your music, dance, theater. That is your music, dance, and theater. Okay. So how you can learn this is TDM, that is thanks Dheer Modi. That is T for theater, D for dance, and M for music. So only and only if your artist belongs to these three and the consideration is up to 1.5 lakhs, that is either equal to or less than 1.5 lakhs, will it be exempt. If the consideration is more than 1.5 lakhs, GST will be leviable. And services provided by such artist as brand ambassador, remember, will become taxable. Even if it is one of these three artists, if it is as a brand ambassador, it will become taxable to GST, and GST will be leviable. It will not be exempt. It is a very, 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 very common point to ask in questions. So remember this. Remember, drawing, sketching, all of these are not included. It is only, thank you, Dheer Modi, that is theater, dance, and music. Theater, dance, and music, TDM. Only and only if it is up to 1.5 lakhs. So I'll erase it so that it is easier to read. Okay. Now coming to the next point. Services by way of admission to a museum, any national park, okay, any wildlife sanctuary, any tiger reserve, zoo, or circus. Since all of these are in green, they are exempt irrespective, okay. So, your museum, national park, wildlife sanctuary, tiger reserve, zoo, and circus, all of these are exempt, okay. Entries, service to admission, that is, if entry to these places, whatever ticket that you pay, that will be exempt from GST. GST will not be charged. However, for dance, drama, sporting events, planetarium. So, for example, in Mumbai, you have your Nehru Planetarium. Any award function, if you want entry to these will be exempt only and only if entry ticket is up to rupees 500. That is only and only if the entry ticket is rupees 500 or less. Only then will it be exempt. Otherwise, these become taxable. That is the ones in black. So therefore, over here also the ones in colored, the ones that I've added in colored, these are exempt irrespective. Clear? So that's your circus, zoo, there's your museum. These are exempt irrespective. However, the ones in black, that is your dance, drama, sporting, planetarium, award function, all of these will be taxable if your entry ticket is more than 500. I hope this is clear. Please try to remember as much as possible while watching these videos itself. I do not want you to waste more time in learning this. I hope these diagrams are clear. Okay, so wait, if you want, pause the video for 2 seconds, look at the diagram, try to remember which all are exempt when, and then you can move forward. Any training in recreational activities or sports that is exempt. So for example, you take coaching for any recreational activities. For example, you take coaching for yoga, now that will become exempt. Okay, or for any sport, that is, for example, you are trying to learn any sport and you pay something, that will not be liable under GST. Now your very tricky part comes your education sector. A lot of students get confused in the education sector, so I have made it as easy as possible. Remember carefully. So our education institution is basically divided into three types of educational institution. First is your preschool or higher or secondary school, that is from your nursery to your 12th standard. This is your higher or secondary school. So these come under your preschool or higher or secondary school. Now this is number one. Remember the number because these will be used ahead. Okay. Second is your colleges or universities providing recognized degree. So for example, you must have done BCom, you must have done BAF. So from whichever college you have done this, these colleges come under number two. And third is any approved vocational courses of NCVT or SCVT. These are your other separate vocational courses. These come under your three. So basically, when we say education sector, we mean three categories. First is your school up to 12th standard, second is your college, and third is your approved vocational courses. So now, how do you remember which is exempt and which is taxable? You have to remember outward service, any outward service by educational institution. When I say educational institution, I mean all three, 1, 2, and 3. So outward service by your education institution will be exempt. Any service to students, staff, faculty is exempt. That is example, catering, any lab charges, any bus facility that you're providing, fee for migration certificate, service by way of conducting examination against fees, all of this will become exempt because outward service is exempt. There is a little confusion in inward service, but you have to remember outward service by these institutions are exempt if they are provided to student, staff, faculty, student, staff, faculty, student, staff, faculty. Okay, so only and only outward service to student, staff, faculty is exempt. Any service supplied to any other person, now that will become taxable. Therefore you have to remember outward service by an education institution to any student, staff, faculty, student, staff, faculty, that is exempt. However, to any other person it will become taxable. For example, renting a school ground for fashion show. So you have rented your school ground, you have a big school ground, and during night it is empty, so what did you do? You rented it out to a fashion show. Now this is not your student, this is not your staff, this is not your faculty, therefore this will become taxable. Placement services to corporate, this is taxable. Franchisee fees paid to franchisees will also be taxable. Clear? Got it, got it, got it. Outward service to student, staff, faculty is exempt. To all other people it will become taxable. Okay sir, outward is clear. What about inward? So inward service by education institution, you basically have to remember 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 points. Okay, so only 5 points you have to remember, and remember the numbers. I told you 1, 2, 3. So these numbers are the same 1, 2, 3 that I've used here. That means if over here 1 is green, that means this service is exempt to number 1, that is your preschool or higher or secondary school. It is exempt to these people. And two, since 2, 3 are red, that means this service will become taxable to colleges and approved vocational courses. Got it? Okay, so now let's start reading. So transportation of students, faculty and staff is exempt only to your number 1. Your number 2 and 3 are taxable. Catering service is exempt to number 1. Again, your 2 and 3 are taxable. Your security, cleaning or housekeeping, again it is exempt to number 1, taxable to 2 and 3. So these three services, if you see these three services, These three services, that is your transportation, your catering, and any security, cleaning, or housekeeping, these three are all exempt. They are exempt to your preschool, higher secondary school, that is up to grade 12, but it is taxable to colleges and approved vocational courses. Clear? So this is your first three are done. Now your next is supply of online educational online journals or periodicals. There should be a comma here. So online educational, online journals or periodicals. Now this is only and only exempt to number two. It is still taxable to one and three. That is, it is taxable to school and it is taxable to your vocational courses. Only and only it is exempt to your number two. That is colleges providing recognized degree courses. And last is your services relating to admission to or conduct of exams. So any service with regards to conduct of exams, that is exempt to all three. I hope and nobody should be confused right now. Outward service is exempt if provided to students, staff, faculty. Provided to others, it will become taxable. For inward service, we had made a matrix, that is 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this. Anything in green is exempt, red is taxable. Clear? So this we are done with your education sector, and now moving on to miscellaneous sector. So miscellaneous is all the items that were not I was not able to cover anywhere. I've added in the miscellaneous. So services provided to recognize sport body by player, referee, umpire, coach, team manager, those will become exempt. They very commonly they give you also commentator. You have to remember commentator is taxable. So therefore this is in red. So only if it is provided by player, referee, umpire, coach, team manager, this is exempt. If it is provided by commentator, it will become taxable. All services by CG or SG or local authority are exempt, except. That is the services which are in the except, they will become taxable. That is services by Department of Post. Services by Department of Post will become taxable. However, if it is postcard, then that if it is service of postcard, it is exempt. Okay, so this color I think will make it very clear, very easy to understand what is taxable, what is exempt. Services in relation to aircraft vessel taxable. Transportation of goods or passengers by CG or SG will become taxable. Okay. Next is your activity or of functions covered in Article 243W and 243G. These are your exempt services. That is, these are composite supply where value of supply of goods is up to 25% provided to CG, SG or local authority. So basically, what do you mean by section 243W or 243G? These are services where you are providing a service as well as you are providing some goods. For example, you have to put light on the marine drive. Now, this is a service since you are putting the light, but it is also a supply of goods since you get your own lights and you are putting it on marine drive. Because marine drive color was changed from yellow, we made it to white. So they are saying, for example, if you are providing any such service, if you are providing any such service under section 243WG or 243W or 243G, where your supply of goods is only up to 25%, and to whom you are providing it is to CG or SG. So only and only if you are providing a service to CG or SG where it is a composite supply and your composite supply, your value of goods is up to 25% of the total contract. In such a case, it will become exempt, otherwise it will become taxable. Next is your services to CG or SG under any training program where 75% or more expense is borne by CG or SG, that will become exempt. Next is your GAC per service is less than 5,000, that will be exempt. Issuance of passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate, death certificate, all of these services are exempt. Services supplied by your FSS AI, these are exempt. Got it? Your FSSAI is basically your Food Standard Safety Authority of India. Services provided by old age home run by government. What you have to remember, it is the old age home which is run by the government only, and only if it is run by the government will it be exempt. If it is run by a third party, it will become taxable. So only if the old age home, if it is run by a government and the fees or the membership fee is up to 25,000 per month, that is either equal to or less than 25,000 per month per member, only then will it be exempt. Otherwise, it will be taxable. So it will be taxable when either if it is provided by any other person other than government, in such a case it will be taxable, or if it is provided by government and your fees is more than 25,000 per month per member, then it will become taxable. Clear? Now next is your services of life insurance businesses exempt. Maintenance charges by housing society up to 7,500 per month per member. So you are living in a society, you are living in a rented flat, you are living in your own flat, does not matter, you have to pay any maintenance charges. So the maintenance charges is up to 7,500 per month. If it is up to, that is equal to or less than 7,500 per month, there will be no GST on these maintenance charges. However, if the payment that you are making is more than 7,500, you will be liable to GST, and this there will be GST applicable on this. So up to 7,500 is okay. Tour services to foreigner, partly in and outside India. So any tour services to foreigner, that is if any Indian tour operator is giving any service to a foreigner, the amount, the portion, the proportion that is in India, the number of days that is in India, that is partly in and partly out, the proportion of days that is in India, that will be taxable, and the portion of days that is outside India, that will be exempt. This is a amendment for May 23. So I hope you understand this properly. So if it is a 10-day tour where 2 days is in India and 8 days is outside India, then 2 days, that is 2 by 10th of the total value of supply, that will be considered as in India and it will be leviable to GST. But the portion that is outside India, that is the remaining 8 by 10, that will not be leviable to GST. Got it? So proportionately. And maximum exemption will be 50% of the amount. So for example, you have a 10-day trip. Out of your 10-day trip, it is 8 days in India and 2 days outside India. Clear? And you have taken rupees 1 lakh from this. So according to your calculation, what would you say that 8 days is taxable? Okay. So if 8 days was in India, so you will say that 80%, that is 80,000 will be leviable to GST and 20,000 will be exempt. Now you have to imagine, now what if this was the other way around? That is, what if it was 8 days was outside India and 2 days was in India? What if 8 days is outside and 2 days is in India? So in such a case, you cannot claim exemption for 8 days because you are only allowed 50% of the amount. So the maximum exemption that you will be able to claim is 50,000, even though ideally according to the formula you should be allowed 80%. Got it? But you will only be allowed to claim deduction of 50,000, that is maximum 50% of amount. Now next is your public library services are exempt. Any recreational activities relating to art or culture by an individual, those are exempt. So only if they are by an individual will it be exempt. If it is taken by anybody other than individual, that will be taxable. And with this, we are done with this chapter. I hope I made it clear. I hope I made it easy to understand. Do drop a like and I'll see you in the next video.